welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today there was quite a storm over speech of billionaire George Soros at the Munich Security Conference, which almost sounded like a neo-imperialist dream. A weakening of the sitting Prime Minister of India, which Mr. Soros said would enable institutional reforms and democratic revival. Of course, conveniently forgetting that Mr. Modi is the democratically elected Prime Minister, which has been ratified by various institutions of India, which last we heard was still a sovereign country. Anyway, after Mr. Soros' utterances, the Indian government said that this was nothing more than a barely veiled regime change operation by a man who has faced criticism in several countries in the recent past for charges as varied as economic terrorism and meddling in their internal affairs. Now, all of this would have remained a rich billionaire's pipe dream versus a sovereign country's stern reminder to him. But then, things got very hairy and political. Just like parties like the Congress distanced themselves from Soros's call to topple Modi, came this picture from the Bharat Jodo Yatra, where Vice President of Soros's Open Society Foundation was seen not just in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, but right next to Rahul Gandhi, having a pretty long conversation with him, along with several other leaders of the Karnataka Congress. Leading the BJP to ask, is the Congress now willing to hobnob with regime change enthusiasts in the name of their opposition to Modi?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, Vivek Srivastava, political analyst. The first question naturally is to you, Mr. Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress. What was this man doing at the Bharat Jodo Yatra? वो देश को तोड़ना चाहते हैं और उनके वाइस प्रेसिडेंट भारत जोड़ो में.
Problem now, this thing, Padmaja, is that, you know, any criticism of the government of the Modi or his cabinet ministers or his policies, you immediately twist it as an anti-India narrative. Now, as a within the Congress party, have you ever said that we need a George Soros to highlight the problems that India is facing?
First of all, hold on a second, sir. Who are you saying criticize the Modi government and its ministers? Everyone has the right to criticize. First, let me start by asking you what George Soros said. Do you think it is criticism? Because he did not say that, oh, Mr. Modi is doing a bad job or Smriti Irani is not doing a good job. He said, and I quote, India is a democracy, Modi is no Democrat. Modi Adani fate intertwined. A weakened Modi will open door to institutional reforms. What are these institutional reforms that Mr. Soros wants to implement in India? Which institutional reforms is he going to have? And what is this democratic revival that he is dreaming of?
Not he is dreaming, entire of India is dreaming of a democratic revival right now. Padmaja, you just need to come out of your slumber and see what exactly is happening all over the world. India has made itself a fool in the eyes of the world. Do you think all those other institutions like the Credit Suisse, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, or all those countries that has ganged up during the Nupur Sharma issue, they are making a mockery of India?
I'm asking you, just a second. So let me just pause you for a second and ask you very clearly. Are you in principle agreeing with what George Soros said?
I said, whatever George, if you debate this in a two-way, if you say that I'm debating on the angle of George Soros, no, I'm not with George Soros. But if you debate it subjectively to what George Soros says,
do you agree with George Soros, yes or no? Do you agree with what he said, yes or no? There can only be one.
Of course I agree.
You agree with him?
Yes. Do I need to repeat it 1,000 times?
Are you agreeing as a congressman or in your private capacity?
Has happened in India.
Are you agreeing as a congressman or in your private capacity?
No, entire entire India is agreeing to the points raised by George Soros, though we do not need a George Soros to highlight the problems
Sir,
India
don't
is
speak
facing
for
as a
entire India,
democracy.
because
I
we do
repeated
not
this statement.
need your certificate for entire India agreeing with a man who has been called an economic terrorist. An economic terrorist. A man who went and informed on Jews who were being persecuted during the Holocaust. So we do not need your certificate about entire India agreeing with a man like that, who has led 3 countries to the verge of bankruptcy. We do not need his certificate, and we definitely not need your certificate about who agrees with him or not. Sanju Verma, quick first rebuttal to Kamar Zaman Chaudhary is saying the sentiment is reflected by everyone in India of George Soros.
You know, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary is not even the official spokesperson of the Congress. Be that as it may, the Congress has been vanquished in Lok Sabha 2014 and Lok Sabha 2019. So for the unofficial Congress Darbari to sit here and give a bhashan to the BJP or to the Modi government on democracy is a bit too rich. Khisiani billi khamba noche. ये जो हिंदी की कहावत है आज मुझे याद आ रही है. And let me tell you, strong words were used. And I will not use derogatory words, but I need to set the record straight. For everyone who's today clapping for George Soros, let us be very clear that George Soros has been banned in his own country, Hungary, where he was born. In 2018, Hungary passed the Go Back George Soros law because he wanted to give protection to illegal immigrants in Hungary. Now, coming to the other most important point. People who say that, oh, India's democracy is under threat, this is the same law which will believe an economic war criminal, a terrorist, a financial terrorist like George Soros. They will not believe Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of Great Britain. They will not believe Joe Biden, the American president. They will not believe Emmanuel Macron, the French, counterpart of Narendra Modi. All these 3 gentlemen said the $85 billion deal between Air India, Airbus and Boeing is one of the largest deals in civil aviation history. Everybody is applauding the Modi government, and these people, a bunch of losers, are sitting here and waxing eloquent about democracy खतरे में है. अरे कुछ तो शर्म करिए. निर्मला सीतारमण was right. डेटॉल से मुंह साफ करके आना चाहिए आप लोगों को डिबेट में आने से पहले.
Okay, Vivek Srivastava, opening comment. The whole world is praising. Today, France and the United States are thanking India for creating jobs in their countries, are talking about economic revival, are talking about how India is the hope for the future. But you need a George Soros' certificate about how India needs reform. Great. Who would you rather believe?
Yes. Okay, now see first of all, there is no reason for the spokesperson of the ruling party, which is in government right now, to be so frustrated, so angry. It seems that she is very disturbed by what is happening in the nation today. Well, yes, we don't need a George Soros to tell India. I agree with you. I'm not in favor of any capitalist businessman sitting across in Europe and America and trying to teach India what we should. However, now that we are debating about it and we are debating about the issues, why didn't the Prime Minister of India give a statement on Adani when he was speaking in the parliament? He is my Prime Minister also. If he feels that the opposition is asking some questions, the media is questioning him. It was his duty to speak, and he did not speak. Number one, and that gave a very wrong picture about us. It is not a question of George Soros. It is the question of my Prime Minister not making an official statement when he should have. There are no answers to it. Number two, BBC comes, makes a documentary. You should have ignored it if you think it is not right. You went out of the way. You banned it up. Then there are income tax raids.
Sir, today this is about George Soros. Hold on a second. Let's just keep to this thing. Let's keep to the topic. You are saying nobody needs George Soros's either certificate or validation. And in fact, he is somebody who has been discredited in the past. So again, I come back to the point. What is anyone doing hobnobbing with people from George Soros' foundation? If he is a persona non grata, if he is a person who has been thrown out of various countries, if he is a person who in fact has been called out by countries like Malaysia for things that they would rather not tell the people, then why is the vice president of that same organization walking in Bharat Jodo Yatra? Why would you hobnob with such people? These are people who've made very clear their intention.
I'll tell you. I'll be very clear. Padmaja, see, it's like this. It's a free world, number one. When I say that don't listen to a particular John Soros, then also please do
free
not...
world में दाऊद इब्राहिम के साथ थोड़ी ना भारत जोड़ो करने लगेंगे भाई. ये क्या बात हुई free world?
And say, हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर विश्व गुरु बन गया. Then it should be either ways.
Free world में कल Ayman al-Zawahiri will be parachuting somewhere and you will say free world.
Then you have no right to sit. नहीं, इट्स नॉट क्वेश्चन पैराशूटिंग. आप एक तरफ कह रहे हैं साहब एयरबस की डील हो गई, आप जा रहे हैं उनका माल खरीदने के लिए, आप उनको पैसे दे रहे हैं तो वो तो खुश होंगे ही. I mean, who is going to finance the deal? Which bank? Which is
हमारी वैक्सीन बाहर जाती है, लोग खुश होते हैं, आप कहते हैं नो बिग डील. उनका सामान हम खरीदते हैं, वो थैंक यू कहते हैं, आप कहते हैं नो बिग डील. व्हाट इज अ बिग डील फॉर यू? जॉर्ज सोरोस इज अ बिग डील, एवरीथिंग एल्स इज इमटेरियल.
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But why are the answers not coming from my Prime Minister and my government? That is the point.
Sir, okay.
Why are you not
one second. Why are the answers not coming? You know, that has been debated ad nauseum. Let me ask this question to somebody to whom it is more relevant, perhaps, Qamar Zaman Chaudhary. What was the Vice President of Open Society doing in Bharat Jodo Yatra? Especially given the fact that Open Society's intention and thoughts about India are not hidden. As far back as 2020, George Soros made a $1 billion pledge saying that I want to fight nationalists and climate change, twin challenges that threaten survival of civilization. Modi is creating a Hindu nationalist state and threatening to deprive millions of Muslims of citizenship. So I am going to start a global university to fight him. 2020, this man says, I will give $1 billion to bring down Modi. 2023, his vice president is there in Bharat Jodo. Why?
Okay. 2018 onwards, Narendra Modi government has been investigating Open Society Foundation. It's 2022. In the meantime, Bharat Jodo Yatra happened. The vice president of the so-called Open Society Foundation walked with Rahul Gandhi, as was Harsh Mandar, as was many other personalities of India walked along with him. So I don't see any problem if somebody walks with Rahul Gandhi. It was for a common cause to defeat the fascist forces that is engulfed the country. Point number one. Point number two.
Common cause was to defeat Modi.
Bharat Jodo Yatra to expel hate from the country.
Okay, so you want to make common cause with George Soros. I think you're really doing yourself no favor, sir, where you are saying that as far as the objective is the same, doesn't matter who you are making common cause with. Sanju Verma.
Thank you. Padmaja, आज मुझे एक चीज बड़ी पसंद आई that you know Vivek Srivastava at least he admitted कि नरेंद्र मोदी इनके भी प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैं. So far so good. Let me tell you, you said BJP spokesperson is frustrated. मतलब आप पद्मजा जोशी के शो पर बैठकर प्रधानमंत्री को रोज 10 बजे गालियां देते हैं, वो चलेगा. जब बीजेपी के प्रवक्ता आपको आईना दिखाती है, तब आपको आपके पेट में दर्द होता, आप बौखला जाते हैं. This is not acceptable. It cannot be a one-way street. I have as much freedom of expression as you have. Okay. Now let me make the second and important point. Harsh Mandar, part of Sonia Gandhi's National Advisory Council, was on the advisory board of George Soros' Open Society Foundation also. So the Congress link is established. There are reports and the veracity will be, effectively concluded. It is said that ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's daughter Amrit Singh is also a part of the Open Society Foundation's Justice Forum. Again, another Congress link exposed. Then, very importantly, it is said that Lawyers Collective, a so-called NGO of Indira Jaisingh and her husband, Mr. Grover, Anand Grover, they are ex-George Soros fellows. And they have never written a single good thing about India, forget about Narendra Modi. Since 2014, वो यही लिखते हैं कि democracy खतरे में है. Then let us talk about Basharat Peer, the open editorial head of New York Times, an ex-George Soros fellow. Go and see his full biodata. You will always see him saying that Kashmir is not a part of India and Modi ke under democracy khatre mein hai.
Respond to this, Qamar Zaman Chaudhary.
This man.
No, Padmaja, simple question. We declare ourselves as a mother of democracy. Now, why the hell are we so rattled by this Bhakt Mandali with one statement from a 92-year-old man? What difference it makes to
you
a
are
vibrant
rattled.
democracy?
People will be rattled, sir. People will be rattled if you'll find collaborators in your own country. People can have wet dreams about, effecting a regime change in India, sitting in Hungary, sitting in the United States, sitting in Munich. That's not a problem. But when you find people collaborating in India and willing to buy into this rubbish, that is the real headache. That there is an entire ecosystem which the likes of George Soros are cultivating in India.
Okay, fine. I got your point. There is absolutely no collaboration with the Congress Party and Open Society Foundation. Even I might file a link with Organizer Research Foundation with the Bharatiya Janata Party. That's also another story. Who is funding ORF? That has to be disclosed.
Okay, you are saying there is no collaboration, yet it is very strange that you find people participating in Bharat Jodo Yatra, which is a very closely vetted march, by the way. Not anyone can walk in. You've got people like Shashi Tharoor hobnobbing with such people. You've got other links which Sanju Verma has also mentioned. And finally, if you're talking about trying to get validation from the likes of George Soros, Vivek Srivastava, you might think, oh, the spirit of what he said is something that India agrees with. I would rather believe that India agrees with the spirit of this video from Turkey, where an entire country today is thanking India, which has reached out to them in times of need, despite the fact that they've taken an anti-India stand against us in the past. And that is the sentiment from Turkey that I think all of India is going to agree with. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much, both gentlemen and Sanju Verma, for joining.